Welcome to Zodiac Talks Tarot, the channel where astrology meets psychology and a bit of old world wisdom. Around here, we don't do cosmic fluff or fortune cookie pep talks. We decode the stars like a seasoned researcher reads human behavior with curiosity, logic, and a pinch of humor. Today, we turn our telescope toward Aries, the first spark of the zodiac, under a reading titled The Quiet Revolution. You won without saying a word. This message belongs to the year of triumph 2025, a year that doesn't reward noise, but precision. Aries, let's start with the simplest truth: the world around you has gone quiet, and that's no accident. The silence wrapping your life right now isn't punishment, it's proof. You've just crossed an invisible threshold that your soul has been crawling toward for years. No banner fell from the sky, no dramatic soundtrack played, but the universe just stamped your report card. You passed a test that most people never realize they're taking. And it wasn't an exam of intellect or skill. You didn't need flashcards or a moon-charged crystal collection. This was a test of mastery, the kind that doesn't measure what you know, but who you are when the world starts shaking. The Aries impulse is to react, to leap, to conquer before reflection. But this season, you did something revolutionary for your sign. You paused. You breathed. You let the storm pass without setting the village on fire. In spiritual terms, that's not restraint, that's evolution. The universe communicates in strange dialects. When it wants to tell an Aries they've grown, it doesn't send fireworks. It sends silence. That's what this current moment represents, the sacred stillness after the cosmic hurricane. For months you've been juggling miscommunications, betrayals, sudden highs followed by cliff drop lows. You've wondered if you were cursed or just tired. In truth, the cosmos was stretching your nervous system to expand your capacity for peace. Every almost breakthrough was just a drill for the real one. Now the energy has shifted. The noise is gone, not because life abandoned you, but because life finally trusts you. Silence has fallen as a sign of alignment. The group chats may have slowed, the notifications may have vanished, but your intuition, oh, that's screaming through the quiet. It's no longer competing with distraction. It finally has the mic. Psychologists like Carl Jung called this process individuation, the moment a person separates their authentic self from the crowd's expectations. Buddhist teachers describe it as the pause before rebirth, that sacred breath before the soul steps into a new body of understanding. You are not retreating from the world, Aries. You are rerouting within it. You are learning to exist without broadcasting. This is uncomfortable for a sign that runs on momentum. Aries energy thrives on proof, visible, measurable, ideally dramatic. So lately you might have felt tempted to explain yourself, to reassure people that you're not being distant, just focused. Resist that urge. Explanation is an energy leak. Every sentence spent convincing someone of your peace drains the very peace you're trying to defend. Silence, at this stage, is your most strategic move. Humor me for a second. Imagine the universe as a slightly sarcastic coach leaning against the locker room door, arms crossed, saying, "Finally stopped talking, huh? Took you long enough." That's the energy right now. The cosmos isn't mocking you, it's impressed. It had to wrestle your fiery nature into stillness just so it could hand you the next mission briefing. You see, Aries, this quiet isn't a void. It's a laboratory. In the absence of noise, your inner architect is rebuilding your foundation. The anger that once fueled your defense now becomes creative fire. The impatience that once burned bridges now forges strategy. This is what maturity looks like for a fire sign. It's not the death of passion, it's the refinement of it. In social psychology, there's a phenomenon called response inhibition, the brain's ability to pause an automatic reaction. It's the neural version of wisdom. That's what you've developed. The difference between impulse and intuition is timing, and you're finally mastering that beat. For once, your flame burns steady instead of wild. Spiritually, the silence you're in is sacred. It's the in-between life moment when the universe rewrites your energetic DNA before sending you back into motion. It's the same phase that every hero endures in myth, the desert before revelation, the cave before the call. Even the Buddha sat in stillness before enlightenment. You're not off track, you're mid-transformation. So, what do you do with this silence? Nothing dramatic. You live. You listen. You let stillness do its work. You notice how your breathing changes when you stop trying to explain yourself. You catch yourself laughing at how loud the refrigerator hum suddenly seems. You find beauty in ordinary things, the smell of coffee, the way sunlight lands on your desk because awareness has replaced adrenaline. And when people ask, "What's going on with you?" You seem different, don't rush to define it. Smile and say, "Just recharging." The truth is, you're not the same person who started this year. You've evolved from reaction to reflection, from fire to focus. This is the beginning of your quiet revolution, not the end of your story. As you move through the year of triumph 2025, remember this: victory doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through a calm heartbeat and a clear mind. You've learned that strength isn't about confrontation but conservation of peace, of purpose, of energy. That's the graduate level Aries lesson. And yes, you can laugh about it. After all, what's more ironic than a sign famous for volume being told that silence is its new superpower? But that's growth. You've evolved from warrior to sage, from conqueror to creator. The fire hasn't died, it's simply burning with intention now. So welcome the quiet. It's not emptiness, it's incubation. The next chapter of your life is gestating in this stillness, and when it's ready, it will emerge fully formed, undeniable, and astonishingly peaceful. Until then, keep your phone on mute, your spirit tuned high, and your faith steady. You didn't lose your spark, Aries. You refined it. And that's how you win without saying a word. We read the evolution of character. I'm your longtime researcher, equal parts astrologer, behavioral analyst, and slightly sarcastic observer of cosmic trends. Today's message is for Aries, and it's one you've earned the hard way. We're talking about the cosmic audit, the invisible exam that you didn't sign up for but somehow aced, and how it all ties into your entrance into what I call the year of triumph 2025. Let's be blunt. The last few months have felt like an endurance marathon with no water breaks. Every situation that could test your temper, patience, or pride lined up in single file and took its shot. Life threw emotional grenades, and the universe stood there like a quiet accountant with a clipboard, observing. When someone disrespected you, did you breathe or bite? When fear whispered worst-case scenarios, did you spiral into reaction or stay grounded in truth? The old version of you, the Aries who treated every disagreement as a hill worth dying on, would be gone in head first, horns out, ready to prove a point. But the newer you, the one forged through silence and self-study, finally recognized the genius in not responding at all. You learned that not every invitation to chaos deserves an RSVP. That's not weakness. That's evolution. It's the difference between being fiery and being fire itself. Controlled. Purposeful. Capable of warmth or destruction, depending on how it's directed. The universe noticed the shift. It took notes every time you paused instead of pounced. Every deep breath that replaced an angry text became a karmic deposit in your spiritual savings account. You didn't lose ground by staying quiet, you gained altitude. You might not have realized it, but your silence has been echoing upward, reshaping your energy field in ways louder actions never could. In Zen practice, they say, the quieter you become, the more you hear. You've become living proof of that. What used to feel like isolation is now communion between your higher self and your human self. You no longer need to shout your truth into the void because your energy broadcasts it clearly enough. This isn't about being passive, it's about being precise. You've replaced performance with peace, and ironically, that's what makes people start paying attention. Now you enter what I call the Aries refinement era, a defining chapter in the larger rhythm of the Year of Triumph 2025. For most of your life, Aries, your fire has been reactive. You moved fast, spoke faster, and burned bridges faster still. You wore first to act like a badge of honor, even when it cost you sleep, sanity, or occasionally, friendships. But 2025 doesn't reward speed, it rewards strategy. This is the year your combustion finds direction. In Buddhist philosophy, fire is not condemned, it's respected. It becomes destructive only when undisciplined. When guided, it becomes illumination, the same flame that lights the path for others. That's your evolution. The spark that once exploded now sustains. What used to be adrenaline now feels like awareness. You're no longer living on instinct alone, you're living by intention. Psychologically, this is what researchers call response modulation, the ability to regulate emotion before expression. It's the adult version of your elemental nature. You've graduated from fight or flight into pause and choose. The universe, ever the exacting teacher, has dimmed the external noise on purpose. It wants you to hear your internal metronome again, the steady rhythm beneath all that cosmic static. You're not being punished by quiet, you're being trained in precision. This is the silent apprenticeship of mastery, the stage where a warrior learns not to fight every battle but to recognize which silences are sacred. Now let's talk about the phrase that's been floating around spiritual corners of the internet, chosen ones. People throw it around like it's an exclusive club for the enlightened few, but let's clarify. Being chosen doesn't mean being favored. It means being forged. It means your life experiences were engineered to scrape away ego until only essence remained. You've been through enough friction to polish your fire into light. The chosen ones of Aries energy are rare because your lesson is among the hardest. You came to this life to turn impulse into insight, to learn that speed without direction is noise, and that courage without compassion is chaos. You were never meant to dim your flame, you were meant to refine it. This October energy marks that calibration point, the cosmic tuning fork striking your soul until it hums in perfect alignment with your next chapter. The stillness you feel isn't absence, it's frequency adjustment. Your system is syncing to a vibration that attracts peace instead of conflict, clarity instead of confusion, and purpose instead of performance. And I'll say it again for the impatient Aries who might already be glancing at their phone, this isn't the celebration phase, it's the calibration phase. The champagne moment comes later. Right now, the work is internal, subtle, quiet. The universe is like a sound engineer adjusting your spiritual volume. It's lowering the external noise so your true tone can emerge. Every delay, every pause, every closed door you've faced recently isn't rejection, it's rhythm correction. You're being taught divine pacing. If you need humor to digest this, think of it this way, the cosmos has basically put you on do not disturb mode. The angels are in the group chat texting, we'll call when the upgrade's done. You might as well enjoy the quiet. This, Aries, is your moment of quiet victory. You didn't win by conquering, you won by conserving. You learned that strength isn't in constant motion but in controlled momentum. You're no longer the spark that burns out fast, you're the steady flame that endures. The silence that once unnerved you is now your sanctuary. And when the world starts asking where you went, let them wonder. You haven't disappeared, you've ascended. So, as the Year of Triumph 2025 unfolds, remember, the universe doesn't always celebrate you with applause. Sometimes it honors you with peace. That's the real mark of the chosen ones, not that they shout louder than others, but that they move so quietly, the world feels the shift before it sees the step. You've done the work, Aries. You've passed the audit. The silence you're in is the sound of alignment locking into place. And in case you're still tempted to rush back into the noise, remember this one truth: a flame that learns patience can outlast the storm. That's your new legacy. That's your quiet revolution. Things have gone quiet, and for someone wired like Aries, that silence can feel suspicious. You start wondering if you've done something wrong, if the universe hit mute just to mess with your momentum. Friends seem to fade into the background, lovers retreat into their own corners, and even your social appetite feels strangely dimmed. But this stillness isn't rejection, it's redirection. When your frequency rises, everything and everyone vibrating below that level naturally drifts away. It's not cruelty, it's cosmic housekeeping. The universe is decluttering your energy field so that what's meant for you has room to arrive. You might feel it physically, that exhaustion that makes you want to hibernate one day and the random midnight burst of creativity the next. Your body's not malfunctioning, it's recalibrating. You're downloading what mystics call light codes, energetic upgrades that rewrite your inner wiring. It's the soul's equivalent of an operating system update, necessary, inconvenient, and impossible to schedule. 1 minute you're sleepy, the next you're electrified, like your higher self just flipped the breaker switch and forgot to warn your nervous system. From a psychological perspective, this feels like withdrawal. You're detoxing from overstimulation, constant noise, validation loops, and the endless pressure to perform. Spiritually, though, it's metamorphosis. You're in the cocoon, the invisible lab where transformation happens without applause or audience. Every chosen one passes through this phase before rebirth. It's not punishment, it's preparation. The Buddha had his Bodhi tree, Christ had his desert, and you, Aries, have your living room at 2 a.m. and a half-charged phone you're finally ignoring. If you need humor to survive this solitude, picture the universe as your no-nonsense coach who confiscated your phone and cancelled your weekend plans. No distractions, it says, arms crossed. We're building something bigger. And honestly, it's right. Every time you think you're being isolated, you're actually being initiated. Astrologically, this transition has teeth. The Mars-Pluto alignment right now is like a cosmic software patch. Mars rules your drive, your aggression, your will to get things done. Pluto oversees transformation, death, and rebirth. When these two meet, they don't throw a party, they tear down the scaffolding. It's a controlled demolition of everything false. The parts of you built from ego, reaction, or insecurity are being dismantled so that authenticity can stand where armor used to be. In psychology, this process mirrors what's known as ego death, the uncomfortable collapse of identity that precedes genuine growth. Liberation doesn't arrive dressed as luxury. It usually shows up disguised as loss. You grieve who you were, even if you didn't like that person much. You miss the noise, the routine, even the chaos. But it's not nostalgia, it's detox. The self you built for survival is being retired. The self you built for evolution is taking over. That's why your circle might be shrinking. You're no longer drawn to the people who mirror your wounds, you're craving those who reflect your potential. You don't want to talk about drama, you want to talk about destiny. The old conversations feel too small for your new frequency. This is not arrogance. It's alignment. You're not losing people, you're losing illusions. Now, about manifestation. Forget the glittery version of it that social media sells. You're not attracting abundance by repeating affirmations into your coffee cup. What's really happening is energetic architecture. You're building a vibration strong enough to pull your next reality toward you. This is what mystics call the victory code, the point where faith and focus meet in perfect resonance. You're standing in it now. Here's the irony, the less you chase, the more things chase you. Money, opportunities, relationships, they all respond to the gravitational field of inner calm. You had to stop broadcasting every idea and defending every choice for the miracle to have space to land. The universe loves discretion. When you share your plans too early, you leak their energy. Every Aries knows this mistake: getting excited, announcing the big move, then watching the momentum fade. The cosmos is correcting that habit. Your silence is your incubator. Your dreams are germinating under the soil. You don't dig up a seed to prove it's growing, you trust the process. If you're tempted to post, brag, or announce your comeback, wait. Let your glow up be self-evident. The quiet transformation will always be louder than a speech. Your presence will do the talking when the time comes. You're not being ignored, you're being prepared. This pause is the universe rehearsing your next act. And beneath the astrology, there's a deep psychological truth. What you're practicing right now, holding energy without releasing it prematurely, is emotional maturity. You're learning how to contain power, not just express it. The old Aries spent energy as soon as it appeared, like a spark that flared and vanished. The new Aries stores it, shapes it, and uses it with precision. Fire becomes focus. Motion becomes mastery. The stillness that feels like stagnation is actually construction. It's the silence before a symphony, the blank canvas before the brush touches color. You've outgrown the drama of constant movement. You're learning to find joy in restraint, meaning in minimalism, and peace in not having to explain yourself to anyone. This is the part of evolution that no one posts about: the loneliness, the confusion, the long nights where you wonder if your silence has made you invisible. But what's really happening is the opposite. The quieter you become, the more magnetic you get. People will start noticing without knowing why. They'll feel your steadiness before they see your success. So if the world feels like it's standing still, don't rush to restart it. Sit inside the quiet until it teaches you something. You're being stripped down to essence, to the part of you that doesn't need an audience to validate existence. That's where all power begins. And when the moment comes for you to re-emerge, you'll carry an aura that doesn't shout, it commands. The truth is, Aries, isolation was never isolation. It was initiation. You weren't locked out of your old life, you were being handed the keys to a higher one. And when you walk through that door, don't look back. The silence that shaped you was your proof of readiness. And readiness, for someone like you, is the real miracle. Synchronicities begin quietly. You notice them before you admit you're noticing them. The clock flashes 11:11 again, your playlist shuffles to a song whose lyrics finish your thought, and a stranger echoes the exact phrase you wrote in your journal last night. These aren't coincidences, they're breadcrumbs. The universe doesn't clap when you do well, it sends confirmations in code. Every signal says, you're aligned. Keep going. And then comes the pop quiz. Someone from your past resurfaces, not to reconnect, but to test your boundaries. An old pattern tempts you to react. The universe leans in, metaphorically, to see if you'll take the bait. You've learned better now. You smile, breathe, and decline the invitation to chaos. That's graduation in action, not the fireworks kind, but the kind where calm becomes your trophy. After the test, life changes shape. The external rewards, money, clarity, success start flowing, but they're almost secondary. The real victory happens inside you. Emotional sovereignty replaces volatility. You no longer react like a firecracker waiting for a spark, you respond like a steady torch that lights the room without consuming it. People feel the difference before they see it. When you enter a space, the energy subtly recalibrates. It's not charisma, it's coherence. That's what happens when your vibration stops wobbling. You've become a tuning fork for peace, a leader who influences without demanding. This is what mastery looks like: leadership without performance, authority without volume. The paradox is almost poetic. The Aries who once had to win now is victory. You no longer chase applause, you generate resonance. Validation used to feel like oxygen. Now, it feels unnecessary. You've become the evidence of your own evolution. And yet, even in enlightenment, you're still Aries. Let's not pretend that wisdom erased your quirks. You'll still roll your eyes at slow talkers, still gesticulate wildly when explaining something trivial, and still treat a friendly board game like the Olympics. Enlightenment doesn't delete personality, it refines it. You're not becoming saintly, you're becoming self-aware. So when you catch an old habit trying to make a cameo, laugh. Humor is holy. It breaks the rigidity of the ego and keeps your fire playful instead of prideful. This, too, is part of spiritual intelligence, the ability to find levity inside your growth. Too many people mistake awakening for seriousness. But you, Aries, understand now that joy is not distraction, it's medicine. Laughing at your own impulsiveness means you've outgrown its control. You can hold power lightly because you're no longer afraid of losing it. Real transformation doesn't need a press release. You don't have to announce your rebirth. Evolution reveals itself naturally, in tone and timing. People will notice something different about you and ask, "What changed?" You'll smile, because the answer is both everything and nothing. You didn't become someone new, you remembered who you were before the world told you to prove it. That's the Aries awakening, the return of the warrior to the inner temple. When the year of triumph 2025 fully unfolds, you'll look back on this quiet October period and laugh at how still it seemed. You'll realize it was the most productive silence of your life. The universe wasn't ignoring you, it was tuning you. Every pause was placement, every delay design. You were being aligned with a life that doesn't just look successful but feels true. And for the impatient Aries who thinks stillness equals stagnation, hear this clearly: the calm is not your pause, it's your preparation. Energy consolidates before a surge. Think of yourself as a bowstring. The universe isn't holding you back to restrict you, it's drawing you tight to launch you farther than you've ever gone. The tension you feel is trajectory. So stop calling it waiting. It's loading. Each quiet day is an invisible download of momentum. The stillness is coding your next chapter in precision. Meditation, solitude, reflection, these aren't timeouts. They're training. The warrior is learning stillness as strategy. Walk alone sometimes. Write down the insights that drift through your mind during those early, unhurried mornings. Let your own thoughts surprise you. The peace you're cultivating now is an investment in the explosion of purpose to come. Nothing you're doing or not doing is wasted. The seeds are germinating under the soil. The roots grow in darkness before the bloom ever touches sunlight. Tonight, when the noise finally dies down, try this small ritual. Sit in quiet. Light a candle not for drama, but for clarity. Write down what you're grateful for, and be honest. Include not just the obvious blessings but the bruises that taught you boundaries. Gratitude isn't only for the pleasant things, it's for the necessary ones. Then, when you're ready, say aloud, "I am no longer reacting. I am creating. I am no longer seeking. I am seeing. I am no longer proving. I am becoming." Then breathe. That exhale is the sound of rebirth. You didn't pass the universe's test by hustling harder or fighting longer. You passed by feeling smarter, by realizing that strength isn't defined by what you conquer but by what no longer provokes you. The strongest warrior isn't the one who wields the loudest sword, it's the one who knows when to sheath it. Silence has become your armor. Peace, your power. What surrounds you now? The quiet, the calm, the unhurried flow of time isn't emptiness. It's applause. The cosmos doesn't cheer in noise, it celebrates in stillness. You are the chosen one of your own evolution, and the universe is standing ovation still. So stay bright, stay steady. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let it teach you something about grace, about restraint, about what true alignment feels like. You're no longer the fire starter, you're the light keeper. You've proven you can burn without destruction, lead without domination, and win without noise. And that's the ultimate Aries transformation. The warrior who used to fight every battle now protects peace like treasure. The fire that once raged now warms. The voice that once shouted now resonates. You haven't lost your edge, you've sharpened it into wisdom. So as the stars continue to shift and the year of triumph 2025 unfolds, take time to live. Go outside more. Laugh with people who make you forget to check your phone. Enjoy the smaller moments, the smell of coffee, the sound of rain, the way light catches dust in a sunbeam. Those are miracles too. The spiritual isn't always spectacular, sometimes it's simply serene. This chapter of your life isn't about proving your worth, it's about savoring it. Let joy be the proof that you've healed. Let laughter be the echo of your enlightenment. You've done the hard work, now let grace do its part. And if this message resonates, share it with someone who needs to be reminded that silence is not failure. It's the universe whispering, you're almost ready. Like, share, and subscribe to Zodiac Talks Tarot, where we decode the stars with wisdom, humor, and a healthy dose of human honesty. Your quiet revolution has begun, Aries, and the world will soon feel its warmth.